Ramblings of a Semi-Coherent Drunk. You Can Never Go Home Again. Written in the spring of 2017. It was midnight. I'd been driving for somewhere about an hour. I was tired. It had been a long fuck all night at work, moving freight in and out of trailers. Highway 47 doesn't see much traffic that late at night. Just my bent and broken ass cruising down at 55 miles an hour, cigarette lit, Metallica cranked. As I rolled through Vernonia, I saw that the bars were still open. They'd better fucking be, I thought. Friday night, there isn't piss else to do besides drink at the bar in this town. I parked my car a few blocks away, owing to my common sense rule of never parking near a bar in a small town. I grabbed my smokes and headed towards the bar. It was the old kind of bar, the kind that reeked of cigarette smoke. This, in spite of the fact that no one had smoked a cigarette inside for years. The ceilings were stained with nicotine. Your glass probably wasn't clean, but the drinks were cheap. No complaints on my end. Something about a bar like that appeals to me. Maybe it's because I've read so much Bukowski, I wouldn't know. I ordered a beer and went outside to smoke. There were a handful of people out there. As I sat down at the lawn table, a gal in a pink sweater came drunkenly marching up to me. "Who are you?" she asks. "I'm Seth," I reply. I take a drag off my cigarette as she sways. We exchange some uninteresting banter. The conversation gets real boring real quick, in that way that conversations with people drunker than you tend to. Clearly, this girl is hammered, so it goes about the way you would expect a drunk to sober talk to go. Before she leaves, she puts her hand on my face. As she's pulling me in for a kiss, I hesitate. She's hammered, I think to myself again. Probably not a good idea. She grins at me, and my mind switches gears again. She's cute. Don't look a gift drunk in the mouth. This philosophy gave me my ex-fiancée. We make out briefly, and then she disappears. I go back inside to get another beer, and see her making out first with another woman, then with some other fellow. Fuck it, I think. All for the best. Someone remarks to me about how they are too busy to fuck whores, and all I can respond with is, "Cool, leave 'em to me." I go back out to smoke, sit down, not feeling as defeated as I felt I might have otherwise. About halfway through the cigarette, I hear a commotion in the bar, loud shouting, something smashing, then sudden voices crying, "Fuck you, motherfucker! I'll fuck you up! Get on out here, motherfucker! Just beer and oxygen out here, motherfucker!" I glance behind me to get a view of the ruckus, but it's inside the building and seems to be moving outside towards the front of the bar. I turn back as I ash my smoke, disinterested, unentertained. I hear chatter about calling the cops, but this is a small town. At this hour, all the armed authorities have gone home to their much nicer towns far away from here. The next best option is the state police, which every party involved agrees, without discussion, is a bad idea. No one is really hurt, though the hollering of obscenity continues. I watch on, lighting another cigarette, partially amazed, yet not terribly surprised, as bumpkin after bumpkin go out the gate, involving themselves in trying to calm things down. Small town charm. Evidently, it must have had some effect, as the yelling dies down and eventually a truck is heard speeding off. By this point, my only two concerns are that the event will somehow have disrupted the service of alcohol, and that for the rest of the evening, the only conversation will be about this tepid non-affair. Fortunately, service kept right on, but I proved dead on about the conversation. I go in to sit at the bar to order another drink. The bartender, whom I have known since early childhood, brings me a fresh can of beer. There is a bizarre feeling that comes from having beer slung to you by someone you used to ride the school bus with. "Jesus, Miriam, I'm in town for 5 minutes and all hell breaks loose?" "Yeah," she replies, taking my money. "And I heard you made out with a girl whose boyfriend is sitting right over there." She nods in his direction. Of course she does, I think to myself, because if anyone knows there's no luck quite like shit luck, it's me. No one was trying to kick my ass, and the gal in the pink sweater was drunkenly hopping from group to group, so I figured I was probably fine for the evening. I start talking to another woman at the bar. She was completely taken aback upon finding out that I had been sleeping in my car. I had come to grow weary of the incredulity shown by most people upon finding this out, typically figuring that this was essentially homelessness, or at the very least, a very short step up from it. While sleeping in the car was far removed from ideal, few things in my life at that moment were. "Do you have a job?" "Yeah." "A full-time job?" "Yeah." No one who has a full-time job should be homeless. Why don't you find a place here in town? Yeah, I thought. Why not rent a cheap piece of shit apartment with crackheads for neighbors, an hour-and-a-half drive from work, and a car whose reliability is suspect at best? You know, honey, just because you gave up on life and chose to settle here in this rancid shithole of a town doesn't terribly incentivize me to do the same. Well, I said, I'm really tired of living with other people, and if I don't have to, then I won't. She paused, staring at me like a dog being taught geometry. What do you want out of life? She asked. To be left alone. I just can't imagine anyone being happy without a space of their own. It's called my car. That's not what I mean. No, it's not. But it is what I mean. We talk a little longer, and I walk her to her place. We'd agreed to share the six-pack I had in my car, but she changed her mind. So, do you want to hang out a bit longer, I asked. No, my boyfriend is coming home in about an hour. He probably wouldn't like that very much. Certainly not. Good night. With that, I spun on my heel and started to the car. Whatever else came out of her mouth was spat to my back as I climbed in my car. I fired it up, grateful yet again, hit the lights and cruised on down the lonesome country road to my parents' house. It would be another 15 minutes until I got there, so I cracked one of the beers and turned up the stereo. No, Vernonia, I thought as I cruised on into the night, lighting a cigarette. 20 years running and you still can't cut me any fucking slack. Perhaps it's just as well, I continued. I will not live here, and I damn sure plan on dying elsewhere.